Preston was no ordinary wolf. He had sleek gray fur that shimmered like moonlight and eyes as golden as the sunrise. Yet, for all his wild beauty, Preston carried a heavy heart. Inside, worries sprouted like weeds, tangling his thoughts and clouding his dreams. One crisp autumn morning, when the world smelled of pine needles and chimney smoke, Preston wandered deeper into the forest than ever before. The air grew still, and the sunlight filtered through the trees, dappling the ground with patterns that danced like whispers. It was there, beyond an ancient oak tree with bark like cracked leather, that Preston stumbled upon the garden. The garden wasn't like any Preston had seen before. It sprawled wide, surrounded by hedge so thick and green it looked like an emerald wall. The gate, a twisted iron arch wrapped heavy in ivy, creaked open as though inviting him in. Inside, the garden was alive, more alive than any place Preston had ever been. Flowers as tall as him swayed gently even without a breeze, their colors richer than rainbows. Some glowed faintly, casting soft light. Others hummed a sweet musical note. But there were also thorny brambles, drooping vines, and shadowy patches where the plants seemed to wilt. "What is this place?" Preston murmured. "You found the worry garden," a deep, kind voice answered. Preston turned to see a figure with a wide-brimmed straw hat and a coat made of stitched leaves. It was the gardener, a rabbit with fur speckled gray like the stones of a riverbed, eyes sparkling with wisdom. "Every plant here," said the gardener, "represents someone's worry." Preston's ears perked. "Someone's worry? You mean mine, too?" The gardener nodded and gestured to a patch of tangled brambles. "These are your fears. Look closer." Preston padded towards the brambles, noticing how their thorns seemed sharper than he'd imagined. Among the thorns, small blooms peeked through, each one holding an image. He saw his family, cold and hungry in a winter storm. He saw himself, small and helpless, lost in a vast forest. He also saw other wolves laughing as he stumbled. Each bloom was a worry that had rooted deep in his heart. "It's no wonder I feel so tangled," Preston whispered, pawing at the earth. The gardener placed a gentle paw on his shoulder. "Worries, like plants, need care. Some must be tended to, while others, they simply need to be let go." With that, the gardener handed Preston a watering can made of shining silver. "Let's start with this one." The two worked together. Preston watered a withered flower labeled "Fear of Failing." Slowly, its leaves unfurled and the flower began to glow warmly. Preston felt a weight lift, like sunlight breaking through the clouds. On another plant, heavy with thorns, the gardener showed Preston how to prune it carefully. "You don't have to tackle every worry at once," the gardener said. "Start small." Day by day, Preston returned to the worry garden. He learned to nurture the blooms that needed care, like the ones marked concern for his family. He also learned to release the weeds that strangled his joy. With each visit, the garden grew less tangled, and so did his heart. One morning, when frost sparkled on the leaves, Preston stood at the gate, looking back at his garden. Where there had once been brambles, there were now blossoms of hope, courage, and kindness. The garden hummed with life and color, mirroring the calm now growing within him. "You've done well, Preston," the gardener said, tipping his hat. Preston smiled, his golden eyes bright. "Thank you, but I couldn't have done it alone." "Remember," the gardener replied, "your heart, like this garden, will need tending. But you are more than capable." With a final glance, Preston padded back into the forest, feeling lighter than he'd ever felt before. And as he walked, he knew that whenever his worries threatened to grow wild again, the garden and the lessons he'd learned would always be waiting.